Hello, Flat Earth researchers, debaters and debunkers. Just check that this is all working. If anyone is already there in the chat, just let me know that you can hear me. That would be cool. Hope you're all having a good weekend. It's about midday. Well, it's coming up for 1 o'clock in the afternoon here in Phuket. So obviously it might be a different time wherever you are. Maybe that fan's cool. I hope you're all having a good weekend. It's about midday. Well, it's coming up for 1 o'clock in the afternoon here in Phuket. So I just had to turn off my own channel there, so at least it seems to be coming through. But maybe a weird time of day. Probably all getting on with family stuff and what have you. But yeah, it's been an interesting few weeks, hasn't it? You know, just well, where do you start, really? I suppose as far as the whole kind of flat Earth debate and things like that go, you've seen people really take up some incredibly contradictory positions to defend their belief in the globe. You see a lot of just, well, I suppose all that behaviour that we kind of, if you're a truth seeker, you've tried to get away from. You've tried to stop that. So it's always a question whether people defending their belief in the globe with kind of name calling and just kind of constantly over talking, inability to listen. I mean, is that conscious or unconscious? After all these years, I really don't know. That's obviously what's going on in people's minds. And I suppose one of the most difficult things to do sometimes is just to get your point across based on the thoughts and investigations you've done. But that is why I'm starting with this one, knowledge versus belief. I just wanted to have a look at a couple of quotes in this, really. And these are things that are... I am writing a book at the moment, which is, yes, it's a flat Earth book, but it's more about talking about how to think rather than what to think. Yeah. So, you know, one thing that on my truth-seeking journey, way before anything like flat Earth came along, just that kind of just trying to, obviously being in Thailand, just realised the other day I've been in Phuket for about 20 years and Thailand for about 30 years now. So obviously Buddhism is a huge influence on the culture, and you can't help but notice things in the culture. And you know, when I was first here, oh hi JP. When I was first here, it's you know, you have this idea that you're all kind of open to learning about new cultures, but while you might be consciously trying to do that, subconsciously there are so many barriers in the way. There are so many preconceived ideas and beliefs and just your culture that you know is the mind process that just obviously dictates your behavior, really. So hello Peter. Oh, thank you for letting me know. That's great. Okay, yeah, I just had to I had one mic which seems to go on kaput, but I've just managed to I've stolen one from my daughter, so I've kind of managed to set up a wireless mic through its amp and then through my other amp, and it all works fine. So that's great. So hopefully the battery doesn't run out on the wireless amp, on the wireless microphone. But Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I suppose for those first 10 or more years coming in Thailand, you're always confronted by things which are, they shock you, they surprise you, they don't fit, or you, how can I say, they seem so weird and alien. Oftentimes it's very nice experiences, and it's like, oh, I didn't, that's, I wouldn't have seen or felt that in the UK or something, but yeah, you just can't help it. You really have to make the effort. So, obviously you can see a lot of people that don't ever adapt. They maintain that mindset, and they never really fit in, and they're constantly frustrated. And I'm talking like a foreigner maybe coming here, a Westerner, and because it just presents, because it's such a different culture, it presents so many different. I've lost my track there, but yeah, there are so many things that contrast what we're used to dealing with, and even kind of where you might feel is a way to get resolution in your normal culture is doesn't really work over here. So, JP, you're actually interested in Thailand, and you've been living in the States your whole life. The States is massive, though. I mean, wouldn't you say there's a huge array of cultures in the States, right? But I can imagine you'd love to come here. But yeah, it's. I think it's anything, isn't it? People, when you make the move, and if you just leave everything behind, it's like, okay, it's a real, when you've got you can't really turn back. Then you just got to keep on forging ahead, right? And it's like, in at the deep end. It is a wonderful culture. But also it can be a very xenophobic in terms of the system. They're certainly not as open. They don't have the open borders that somewhere like the UK has. There's if your visa runs out or anything like that, then you're straight back on the plane. Or if you get caught, and then you get banned from entering the country for a long time. But yeah, it's a wonderful culture. It's definitely worth coming and trying out. And you can easily spend several months here on a normal, just a kind of visitor visa, I suppose. Yeah. Hi, Chilling. All right. Fat plane. Self-belief can be beneficial. Self-belief, okay. That's an interesting point, isn't it? The example I was given when I first came across this in a book about kind of spiritual development was really, there might be a motorbike, and you might know how to ride a motorbike, and you can get on that motorbike and ride. But then at the same time, if you don't actually know, you've never ridden a motorbike, you might believe that you can get on it and just ride off. But it would be different, wouldn't it? The reality would be different. You got on that motorbike and you didn't know how to turn it on, and you'd never experienced it before. You'd have a lot of trouble just kind of zooming off straight away, right? Even if you knew how to operate the gears and the clutch from theoretical things, right? From maybe you read the theory, but it doesn't mean you actually know how to ride a motorbike. So, that's one analogy that was presented as an example to me. I was thinking of something like, for example, the story, The Three Little Pigs. We all know the story, right? You can read it word for word. So there's knowledge of the story, but that doesn't make it true, does it? Doesn't mean that there are little pigs building straw houses and stuff. It's kind of, so even kids understand that it's a story. Of course, it can be analogous, I think is the word. It can be an analogy, but yeah, there's a difference between the stories. So that's, when it comes to something like heliocentrism, the globe, it's a story. There's all these stories and explanations that go around it. So we all know the story, of course, and some people study it in depth. and they have all these explanations for this, that, and the other that we see, but that's all about interpretation. So it ends up being a belief, doesn't it? So yeah, there's a difference there between knowing the story, and just like any religion, you know, someone might be able to point to a verse in the Bible, and they'll use it to support an argument or something, but that's always going to come down to interpretation. I mean, people can debate that, and it's, you know, that can be quite a skill to have that knowledge. You've acquired that knowledge and you've gone through it, and I want to pick out this to support my argument or that, you know. How much weight do you give it? How much, you know, how much gravity is on your definition of what that means, right? Your interpretation, yeah. So, I mean, I'm just going back, you know, so this, why I suppose I was talking about Thailand to start with was just this quote by the Buddha. Obviously, you know, part of being in Thailand, I've tried to study the culture. And yeah, I suppose Buddhism is that one religion that doesn't ask you to follow a god, and I think belief in yourself, that's an interesting question, that belief in your, maybe, you know, there's so much more you could say about that with the question about believing in yourself. Yeah, you can believe in your own discernment, but, you know, a lot of times we can believe that we can do things that we can't, right? You know, you might have, you have to really take a pragmatic and realistic look at yourself. I mean, yes, you know, someone could say, oh, you can be a millionaire and you can do this if you have the persistence and the, you know, you just have this very narrow focus and you ignore everything else, you don't get distracted, then yeah, you probably can. But you know, you're you know, in reality, a lot of us have a personality or just other stuff to deal with. We will get distracted. We don't have that narrow focus, and that can be for all sorts of reasons, right? So yeah, I would say that it's possible to manifest things because you believe you can, but at the same time, you've got to know that you can actually carry it out. You can dedicate that time, and you're going to have all your energy, every single thought, every single aspect of your being is going to be focused on achieving that goal. Yeah. And sure, if that's the case and you can do it, whether it's winning the Olympics or lifting weights or you know, becoming something that you wanted to be, sure. But there's also that that has to be accompanied by the knowledge, right? That you can really carry it off, pull it off, because you have that temperament. Yeah. Wow, I'm getting a lot in chat. It's good to see you all. Thank you for coming in. It's nice to share some thoughts. Mallard, okay. It has been a while, yes. Yeah, well, after going back to the UK, that kind of drained all my resources. It was very necessary to do. I had to get my passports for my kids renewed. So there's a long-term plan to eventually get back to the UK. Honestly, don't know how that's going to happen, but apart from working my arse off. So once I came back from the UK, I had to immediately really knuckle down and get on with some more work, which is now happening, so that's good. Just been really busy, kind of just every day of the week, really. No holiday in that respect, just kind of writing. So it's interesting as well doing the writing, because that, you know, often you're dealing with, there was something, what was it? I can't remember exactly what I was dealing with the other day, but ended up, you know, a lot of the sources for the information were from the World Economic Forum. You know, when they're talking about diversity, oh, that's right. There was someone writing a blog and, you know, kind of basically doing some ghost writing for some blog articles, and I think it was about psychology and things like that as well, mental health issues and what have you. And that's the thing. There's a lot of buzzwords, and you know that's one aspect of the writing I don't like, is because sometimes you're just repeating stuff that's out there, and this is a thing, it's been put out there by people like the World Economic Forum, and these buzzwords and phrases and concepts and things get put out there, and people start using them, and they just spread, and again they become beliefs. You know, you've not, or there's a bit of a bit of both, really. There's these factual things, but this is how, for example, this idea that racism still exists and stuff like that, because or the whole LB, whatever it is, the whole trans thing. That again, that's they're minorities, and people are picking up these same points to just promote themselves, really, a lot of the time. I'm a psychologist or a psychiatrist, and here are the topics that blah blah blah. So they're throwing around these words, and you've got 20% of black people are not treated properly in hospital, and healthcare is a problem, and blah blah blah, and LGBTQ PRST plus people are marginalised and things like that. So of course, what you have is what's really making a mess at the moment, I suppose, with these kinds of things, is people just being trying to cater to every single whim, but at the same time sidelining the fundamental freedom of speech. Yeah. So Scott, good to see you, my man. Callum, Harmon. All right, yeah. Harmon, you're from Las Vegas. All right, yeah. So yeah, I think this phrase here by the Buddha. I mean, if you haven't read it already, it's on screen. But I found that really compelling. It's so when it comes to religions and things like that, when of course Buddhism is considered a religion, but it's more about that finding the truth in yourself. It's not about listening to any God, and as the Buddha apparently said, if he was real, believe nothing, no matter where you read it or who said it, no matter if I have said it, unless it agrees with your own reason and your own common sense. I mean, that's the foundation of the religion, yeah. So I think that's Scott, I love the way you write your Yorkshire English. Is it Yorkshire? I think it is, if I remember your accent correctly. Yeah. But yeah, isn't that a really great concept? Another thing about the Buddha that's maybe not quite understood is you're not necessarily talking about one person. Buddha is someone. Obviously, they call it Bud is the religion, Buddhism, but basically, it's a Buddha is anyone really that comes to that enlightenment, and so there are all these different kind of prefixes that go before the word Buddha. So the one they often talk about really is referred to as Gautama Buddha. And this was the prince that gave up all his worldly possessions and decided to do that, become just kind of travel. So there are various types of Buddha, but the Gautama Buddha, there are many throughout history apparently, and it's anyone really, anyone that can. So you can be a Buddha, or your just your approach on life can be Buddhist. So they're not necessarily revering one particular person. It's more like but this quote is from that. Fat Plane, what's that? Self-belief in terms of motivation to complete a project, intense exercise, or learn a skill. Yeah, man, sure. Yeah, I know what you're saying there, man. You need that, don't you, with the determination. Yeah. But I suppose, really in this context, maybe we're talking about kind of how kind of certain things that have been passed off as science have been, considered fact, and really they're just beliefs, right? Yeah. So, and that can go for anything, right? I mean, a lot of people like right now believe that, there's all these political debates going on and stuff, and presidential debates, and whether it's in the UK or the US, and people just believe that. Well, it's funny listening. A lot of times you see these questions, and from the audience members. And the problem is that they've got this belief in their head which has been given to them, whether they're kind of supporting the Ukraine or whatever it is, or one side of a war that might be going on, or whatever. You know, I mean, the thing is, when people, whether it's people are siding with the Israelis or the Palestinians, it's all, it gets so messy, because ultimately you're always dealing with individuals, and there really should be this understanding that, you know, of course, different people are affected in different ways, and it's always going to be subjective, yeah? So you can't objectively talk about, it's just, yeah, but that's what happens. You see people siding with political parties, or arguing, making arguments out of things that are just based on these very broad beliefs which they've been given, yeah? Hello, Swaddy Krap. Established 1983 lives. you sharpen your saw every day, Zeus Scott. What's that, Harmon Walker? Or you could just try being yourself and not worry about all the other gobbledygook. Yeah, that's it. Well, this is it, isn't it? It's all about finding your own path, right? And yeah, I think that's all you want to do with anyone to do. So when you see people arguing in defense of their belief, especially some of these kind of well-known globe earth defenders that use awful language, and just their mindset is just so toxic, and it's like, well, do you know, it doesn't, I mean, if someone's going to be like that, it doesn't bother me. It's just that it's a shame to see that person being destroyed by their own anger, yeah, or their own bias, or their own whatever it is. It's just like, no, just let go of the belief, and let's just have a kind of transparent conversation. But it's very difficult to do that with any of these guys. And of course, the same can happen with someone defending a certain model that they've become attached to when it comes to the flat Earth. Yeah, that can be a problem as well. You know, discussions can be, again, you end up dealing with someone that's kind of arrived at a conclusion based on certain things, and it's like, oh, it's like a, you know, there's this kind of, things have become calcified in the mind, so that there's no room for discussing other things there. Yeah. Callum, what's that? If the definition of belief is thinking something to be true, whether it is or not, then I have no use for belief at all. There is another word like that. Delusion. Well said, Callum. Okay. Okay. Give me a second, guys. Hang on, my. Hi.
Hello.
What's up?
Do you have the singer with you?
I don't know. Are you coming around the back? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, right. I'm right in the middle of a live stream right now.
Oh.
But I can.
It's okay, I'll find a way.
All right. Are you around the back yet?
Yeah, I am.
Oh, okay. Okay. Hang on a minute. Okay. Yeah. Sorry about that. I knew that would probably happen. Daughter's out dealing with very, very bad traffic, and it's been flooding. It's the monsoon season right now, so everywhere's got flooded. Went down the road and didn't get very far. So, yeah, Callum, I really like that. Nice one. Okay. Auto hoax. I heard Crow 77777 make the statement belief if the enemy of knowledge. Do you mean belief is the enemy of knowledge? It's a great tool for discernment. Yeah, is a quote from Alistair. Okay, right. Okay, interesting. Yeah, I would agree with that quote as well. Alistair Crowley. I mean, who knows? Maybe, you know. Yeah, again, you know, what we hear, what we know about these people is obviously there are certain accounts. There's third-hand information, but unless you've ever, you know, and there's. You know, one quote might be one of many, and of course, you know, that never really nails down or defines a person for what they really are, right? So yeah, it doesn't matter necessarily where it came from. I mean, again, that might be something that someone like Alistair Crowley, for example, might well have studied things like religion and what have you. And then, you know, of course, when you can see that people are so easily led by delusion, like when we had all the kind of, the massive media campaign and the political campaign with the whole Rona and the medical intervention, yeah? I mean, it's just like you're looking around and you're like, don't you guys see what's happening? And of course they don't. So, there's these people, there are these so-called elites that understand the power of suggestion and that most people will go along with a belief. And so, someone like Aleister Crowley, for example, might have used that to his advantage. It's like sometimes you can't blame, which is actually a good thing to come on to the next comment I've got there. I'll come to you. Okay, let's just see if that will come up now. Hang on. Right. Okay, this is another really good comment that is also going to go in the book. Liars versus believers. So, compulsive liars. I'm sorry, my glasses are. Compulsive liars shouldn't frighten you. They can harm no one if no one listens to them. Compulsive believers, on the other hand, they should terrify you. Believers are the liars. I got some things in the way there, but the liars, what was it? I can't exactly, hang on, I've just got to open up that myself. Enablers, yes, the liars enablers. Okay. Now it's disappeared. Hang on. All right. Okay. Yeah. It's so true, isn't it? Back in 2020, 2021, you had, all these industries just closing themselves down, doing things that they just believed. There was all these knee-jerk reactions, and again, we've probably got people like the organizations like the WF, EF, pushing out this data and stuff, and despite people's common sense and better judgment, and even only now, of course, there's so many other things to talk about now that people have forgotten the whole Rona narrative. But just the insanity of that, just watching people go along with it. Of course, some people were made to believe they were heroes. You're a hero for working in the NHS, or you're a hero just for sitting in your house and not going out. Oh dear, you're a hero for not killing Granny. I mean, absolutely insane. But you watch the news reports. I was just watching, and it was so frustrating to watch people get swept up in this, because you're watching something like the BBC, and it's obvious that they've picked people that said the stuff they want to say. They didn't pick random people off the street, or maybe they did, but they edited out the ones that were saying, oh, this is ridiculous. I remember getting on the bus and being told to put my mask on, and things like that, and you just couldn't. While they were wrapped up in that whole thing, while the whole narrative was being pushed, you couldn't talk sense to people. It was ridiculous. Yeah. So where were we? Harmon Walker. Yeah. Try being yourself. Yeah. Okay. So auto hoax. Yeah, that's a good one. Fat plane. Fully agree with you, Nick. That belief in science without practical reality is nonsense. Okay, yeah, thanks, man. Yeah, this is it, isn't it? And that's the whole thing. That's why we're here now, because we've tested those beliefs, and obviously it doesn't match up. Again, just measuring the Earth to be level is what we do, like in all practical terms. So again, I suppose that's why there seems to be. I haven't honestly been following it. I know there's a bit of discussion, and people are planning to go off to Antarctica, or it's not quite worked out. I've no idea, but this is maybe, I don't know who brought this up in the first place, or whatever. Or obviously, it's always been something that's talked about. But I think, for example, the Globies love this kind of thing because it's a distraction from the lack of curvature. Let's try and solidify this belief in a 24-hour sun at Antarctica. And again, they're spouting that as if it's knowledge. I mean, I don't really know if it really exists. You can look into it, and you can't really find anything that really tells you the truth either way. And whether to be honest, to me, it wouldn't make any difference. I had someone jibing me the other day, why don't you join these people off to Antarctica, and the 24-hour sun is proof that it's a globe. And I'm like, no, you just go back, take a step back, measure the curvature on the surface of the Earth, start there. If it doesn't exist, then any other kind of assumptions and arguments are just totally irrelevant. Yeah? So, okay, what's that? Harmon Walker, you understood exactly what I meant. You get a point for that. At least this time in England seems like it's easier than last time when you got stuck. Yeah, yeah. Thanks, Harmon. Yeah, I mean, obviously, yeah, eventually things kind of went back to normal, didn't they? And people wanted to put it behind them. I'm sure there must have been a phase. I think there was times, people started to feel silly wearing the masks and what have you, and they just, But I suppose it's not. Yeah, they just want to carry on. I suppose we ultimately knew that was going to happen, and well, because it was just so impractical. Eventually, too many people were affected, and too many people were just like, "Yeah, I've got to get back to work. Or I've got to, we can't, commerce is essential." Yeah, we've just, we've got, it's just nuts. Yeah, but I mean, when I came back to Thailand, Thai Airways was running flights just to get the Thai students back. There was no other airline going to Thailand. British Airways stopped at that time. They haven't re-established their flights now. Not until October this year, I think, is when they're going to start doing their flights again. But yeah, it was. I think it was Emirates. But Emirates was the only airline that was actually doing trips to Bangkok at that time. So yeah. But when I got here, I mean, it was all, people were packed on the planes and the domestic flights and things like that. Yeah, so even it was funny after my what do you call it, quarantine for about 16 days it was. I actually got to the airport to get my flight to Phuket, and it was just packed. It was heaving, and yeah, there was still a bit of mask stuff going on, but really it was just like, for the most part, life was just going on as normal by then. Really, it's just so yeah. It's I must admit, obviously, the one good thing about the UK is that at least you do have resistance against the tyranny. Yeah, it's there, and although they can do a very good job of squeezing things and kind of, but ultimately the common sense does kind of rule in the end. And of course, the UK is the whole place is designed for you to go there and make money if you can. And so, there's a lot of good things to be said for the UK. I mean, the Thai culture is not necessarily always progressive. It is in many ways, but there's things that won't change, like just the state of the roads and just the kind of the corruption that does exist and is allowed to exist. And I'm not saying that there's no corruption elsewhere, but at least there is also kind of, things still get maintained and done. So, yeah, there's a lot to be said for the UK, and just that, there is, I think there's a lot of hope as well, in some respects. Right. I'll just go back through the chat there some more. Wow, there's a lot. Hang on, sorry, I'm just going. Negator. I'm confused about the description if you refuse to accept flat Earth as a scientific fact. Yeah, because, I mean, again, there's no models being promoted here. I don't know if there are ice walls, and I don't know what's beyond the limits of where any of us can actually go and explore. But basically, in all practical terms, the Earth is measured as level and stationary, right? We're not on a spinning ball. There's none of that going on. There's no curvature. And this is this is one of those challenges, you put out there. It's like, well, go ahead and tell me how the curvature was measured. And no one's ever done it. It's never been done in human history. It's all just been extrapolated from beliefs, basically. So it is measured level. What are you looking for?
From downstairs?
No, still there. Yeah, sorry. Oh, well done, you're back. Okay, relief. The daughter got back. Yeah. So, negator. I mean, if you want to kind of tell me that there has been a measurement of curvature without pointing up at the stars and things like that, good luck to you. Yeah, but the Earth is demonstrably level. I mean, again, how far it goes, where it goes to, who knows? Yeah. Mallard the duck, after years of believing the heliocentric model, how it really boggles the mind as to what the sun, moon, and stars really work. Yeah, it's kind of. I mean, it's obviously really kind of thrilling to kind of look at that again, isn't it? To rethink that, but then we are just confounded by we don't know what they are. We don't know. I mean, maybe someone like what's his name? There's a physicist. Wish I could. I was just watching some stuff by him recently, but there's very few physicists that have actually really studied the sun in any detail, and you know the one I mean, the one who's done interviews sitting in the back of his car. He's a bit of a but he's studied the sun and he figures that it's a transformer. I mean, nobody knows how it works really. And of course, that's one of the well, give me an alternative. You tell me, how does the sun hang up there? It's like, well, how does any of this exist in the first place? You have to, again, come down to that acceptance. That's the thing. Another thing about the Buddha as well is that there was no, when you do meditate a lot and things like that, a lot of things come sixth sense. You know when things are going to happen. You get a much more of a better direction in life. You navigate the daily life and things like that. Things happen. There is a story about, there's the Buddha or a lot of monks going to meet the Buddha at a certain place without any prior knowledge. It wasn't an arranged meeting. They all converged, and that's when he delivered one of his most significant sermons, apparently. And I can see how that would happen. They would just, be tuned in. They might not necessarily know or assume or believe what's going to happen when they got there, but they just knew that, okay, I'm going in this direction, and they all ended up turning up at the same place on the same day. That's the kind of thing that happened. That's the thing. That's the weird and wonderful way this universe works. It's fascinating, isn't it? I mean, I spent a long time looking at the moon and trying to work out what it was, but how can we know? It could be a projection. It could be a reflection. It could be the Earth itself being shown. It could be, it's just what are these videos. I don't know what to make of these videos where people are showing a face next to the moon. I saw one today where he's got the night vision on. It's totally weird, but I mean, as far I've looked, I can't see one. Who knows? But I mean, it's not beyond the realms of possibility, right? I mean, these could be whatever they are. Yeah. Whatever's going on. I mean, we are maybe in obviously in an intelligently designed place, but how and why and who's done it, who knows? That's beyond us. That really is. And I would say that obviously there's, you can become. I think again, one of the points that Buddha made or refused, or the questions he refused to answer, is like, is there an afterlife? What happened? Is there a heaven and a hell? All these things happen on earth in our minds and our karma. That's for sure. Reincarnation is kind of assumed to be a fact, and it kind of makes sense in a lot of ways when you separate the soul and from the body and the mind. Then it's like, there's the mind doing all this stuff and doing all this believing, but the soul is more like an observer and an energy that's inhabiting the body and just kind of experiencing the mind. And but it's kind of, you've got to get to that point where you're an observer of it. You're not totally caught up in it. It's really nice it's very thrilling to look at that again. And I suppose that's the thing. Sometimes you get these arguments from people who believe in the globe or whatever. They have their own awe and wonder at all of it and this kind of this magnificence of it all. And it's like, oh wow, and they're not necessarily. It's not just because they have answers; they're still blown away by the awe of it. But life is awesome. It's a mega thing. I was just thinking the other day, if I was given the choice, it's like, sometimes you get tired with life and things like that. But when it comes to it, when it's time to die, and it's like, I'd give this another go. I want to try again. I want to try and do a better job than I've done this time, you know. And so, yeah, I suppose it just depends on your outlook, right? You know, it might be quite daunting to think, oh, I've got to come back and do it all over again if it's just an endless cycle. I don't know, but we can always philosophize about the possibilities, right? So, yeah. Effed Up World, hello. You can't spell believe without a lie. Try it, yeah. Yes, Sue Scott. Scientific equals no, this is fiction. Yeah. Keith Anthony, hello. Most people feel they need belief to survive. Yeah, I suppose so. Because it is frightening, isn't it? It is frightening to be lost at sea in that respect. And that is something that we have to get over, isn't it? It's like, yeah, I suppose that's a realization we have. You know, a lot of the time, you eventually come in your life. It might come early in life. You might lose your parents early on or later on, but there's that point, whether you've lost them or not, that, oh shit, I'm on my own here, yeah, I can't be playing the victim all the time. I've got to just get on with it and make my way, right? Yeah. So that's interesting. Goes back to the comment about believing in yourself, because yeah, that would be ultimately the way to progress, wouldn't it? Yeah. Again, if you're just begging for a savior to help you, and I believe that God will show me the way, that's okay, but I mean, to be honest, I suppose that I've experienced much better mental well-being just by letting go and kind of trying to not be. So I let me put this. Okay, for example, you might ask God, you might believe in God, and say, well, I want this, and I'm, you know, if I ask God, He'll make it happen for me. But it's like, you be careful what you wish for, right? I mean, because really it's more about getting these lessons in life, yeah? So sometimes if you're desiring to be, if you're desiring a future point, I want to be there in the future, but you're just missing the now, and you're always preoccupied by, it'll be okay when I get there, when I move, or when I have this, or I have that, or I've bought a house, or whatever, everything will be better then. It's like, no. If those things are to happen, they will happen as a natural course, but I think it's more important to be just focus on the nowness of it, and it can be there, but not something that you have to be attached to, or asking for help to get to that point. I don't know if that kind of makes sense, but yeah. Auto hoax. The more I look into what I believe, the more I understand I don't actually know. Yeah. That's what it is, isn't it? Yeah. Mallard the Duck. It was like the apocalypse. Okay, God, I'm way behind on the chat, so you're probably talking about the Rona thing now, yeah? Okay, Zeus Scott, just like Marmite, something. Yeah, I like my Marmite, can't stand Vegemite, I'm afraid. But, yeah. Auto hoax, the hero TikTok dancers and their choreography. Yeah, nuts, wasn't it? Yeah, okay, so, wow, I kind of moved past that, so let me just try and go through the chat again. JP, even if Antarctica has 24 hours sun, it doesn't disprove a globe being... Hang on. Even if Antarctica has 24 hours sun, it doesn't disprove globe being false. Well, yeah. However you want to word it, it doesn't. Yeah, whether there's a 24-hour sun or not, it doesn't prove the shape of the Earth, right? But that's the thing. A lot of people are sticking to that, aren't they? Callum, final experiment. Okay, right. Yeah. The fight. I mean, this is it. Yeah. I'm not really interested in getting into the politics and who's been doing what and that stuff. But, as far as the final experiment should be a simple measure of curvature. Find that curve. What is it? 10 miles or 10 kilometers will give you a 7-meter drop. That's all you need to do. You need to find that drop, measure it, And you ask all these globers to do it, and they won't. There's nothing they will do. There's nothing they will try. They'll just make excuses and point to the sky. Yeah? Excuse me 1 second. Negator, no. You're arguing that a 24-hour sun is a pretty good evidence of a globe. Well, no, it's not, my man. And that's again a ridiculous assumption. A pretty good evidence to say the Earth isn't. That's insane. You're just pointing at the sky and the sun, and Antarctica might be in the center of the Earth. The maps might be just completely the wrong way around. Who knows? But and again, whether it's the sun, is it sunlight? You actually seeing the sun? Is it going off into the distance and sinking below the horizon? So much would depend on the height of the sun at that particular time of year. But there's nothing to say that. That's the thing. Again, this is the main crux of the issue, Negator, with discerning between knowledge and belief, because what's happened is we've been told that there are certain things that we see and maybe even don't see, but that happen only because we're living on a globe, and it's usually pointed to the sky. It's no one's ever measured any curvature. Start there, measure the curvature. If there's curvature to be measured, fine, I will accept that. I'm absolutely totally open to that. All of us started this journey, I'm sure, saying, okay, where's the curve? If we can find the curve, then that's a relief. It is a globe. Like I've just I haven't believed all this nonsense for years. But when you actually try and measure it, there's no curve. Yeah. But Antarctica. The thing is, even if you look at the Admiral Byrd thing, where they apparently sent people from these different locations in the south, whether it was from South America or kind of New Zealand, Australia way, and their plan was to meet at the South Pole. They never actually met. Whether this was this Operation High Jump, I'm not sure if that's right, but. The idea of that was that or one of these operations, which Admiral Byrd was part of, was that they would all go from these different directions to the South Pole, but they never actually met up at the South Pole. Never actually happened, yeah? So, it's another failed mission. But, of course, they'd all discovered new land, according to that TV show back then, yeah? So, again, so many things. There's a gazillion possibilities for why the sun is doing what it does. It might be there, it might not be there. But then when you see a photograph taken out of an aircraft of the sun sinking between the clouds in front of the horizon, that's good enough for you to know that the sun isn't something that's 93 million miles away. It's there, and it's some kind of. It has. It's subjective and objective at the same time. That's the weird thing about light. Yeah, light is so weird. Yeah, that and it's one of those indirect measurements. Yeah, and that's what the entire globe is made out of. Yeah, whether we're talking about measuring the speed that something drops through the air, just because you can measure that something falls at a certain rate, and you can call it 9.8 meters per second squared if you like, over a certain distance it accelerates, it doesn't prove anything. I mean, it happens, but it shows that heavy things fall down to Earth, and of course it helps that we've got some kind of gravity, but it doesn't. It's an indirect measurement in which you can extrapolate all sorts of things. The same with a gradient, the gradient of the air getting thinner and thinner, but what does it become after that? You can extrapolate mathematically that, okay, it becomes a vacuum and there's nothing there, and it must be because there's this gravitational pull and it's all going, you can imagine all sorts of shite. Yeah? Doesn't make it true. And just because you can predict it, just because you can, if I drop something, it's going to fall at 9.8 meters per second squared. Well, so what? It doesn't, that's the problem. That's part of the deception. That's been, we've got this scientific method where you can make an observation. No one's observed or measured curvature. This is the thing. No one's ever seen curvature and said, let's measure that and see how big the Earth must be if there's actual curvature on this 10-mile stretch, and there's a 20-mile or 100-mile stretch or 1,000 miles. Let's just see if this curvature exists all the way. No one ever saw, there's some curvature there. The Earth must be curved. Didn't happen. Yeah? And the same with gravity. Yeah? It's just okay. It's just math magic. Yeah? So it's ridiculous. You know, that negator, that just shows that you're stuck in that mindset where it's been solidified in your mind that there's no other explanation when there are gazillions of explanations. Just depends on what you want to do. But, you know, philosophically speaking, the truth is that it's level, and apart from that, we can just kind of make up all sorts of stuff beyond what we actually know. Yeah, that's the thing. We know it's flat. We know it's not a globe, and we know it's not spinning. Yeah, but that's it. That's the extent. You know, again, it's also important to understand what we don't know. Yeah, and accept it. And just accept it. Then you've got an easy life. You know, it doesn't bother me if someone believes they live on a globe. What bothers me is that, you know, when they have that internal struggle and they could be free of that. And you know, you just want to share the freedom of not having a belief, because it works wonders for life. And this is not just about the globe, it's just about everything in life. If you can go through life not making assumptions about people that you meet, you know, just because of the way they dress or something you've heard they've said or things like that, you know, if you can live life free of judgment, then you have a free life. But it's the most challenging thing to do, to not judge, because it's something that we do automatically based on our own thought patterns, our behaviors and our beliefs, our personality. It's a real struggle. It's a real struggle. Yeah. And to even to if someone comes along and they've got a belief, then, you know, you do not have to be affected by that. You do not have to take it personally. You've got to understand that they're being personally affected by their belief, and you're just kind of watching the show. Yeah. All right. So I hope that clarifies it. Negate. I mean, do I really have to say much more? Yeah. 1983 lives. I just tell people I didn't believe the Earth is flat. I know it's not. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, because you get into all the whole kind of things about models. Yeah. Okay. JP, what if life bounces off the dome or somehow and shows a continuous? Exactly. It could be anything. You know, it could be from reflecting off the ice. It could be you know, wow, there's a gazillion possibilities. Yeah. Zeus Scott, the moon's now inside the Earth's atmosphere. Yeah. Oops. Auto Hoax, you had something there. Okay. Auto Hoax is saying, I'm aware, negator, the sun rises east, sets west, and does the moon, as does the moon. The phenomenon of the eclipse traveled on a northeast trajectory. I love to see the modelling for that with a sphere Earth. Yeah, good point. Autobox. Auto Hoax, sorry. Okay. Negator's arguing there. I mean, the modelling is easy and you should... Well, it's not, you see. Negator, you're just, you know, you're trying to look... Again, what's moving? The sun and the moon, they appear to be moving. Yeah? And the stars appear to be moving. They're doing their own independent movements. Yeah, that's how we get the seasons and all that jazz. But we're told to think that we're smart to kind of disregard all those movements, all those separate movements, and say it's all happening because we're on a spinning Earth that we can't measure and we can't see as being spinning. Yeah. Again, again, absolutely would have no problem whatsoever saying that, all right, okay, if you can measure curvature and you can measure that spin and attribute all of these things to us being on a globe, with a measurement, a direct measurement, not indirect measurements and interpretations, absolutely fine. Would have no problem. I would celebrate it. Yeah. If someone said there's a repeatable, demonstrable measure of curvature, you can do this anywhere on the Earth, and you can just say that you can just have this 10-kilometer stretch, and you'll know that it will drop down 7 meters across that 7 kilometers. Yeah. If that is demonstrable, whether it's horizontally or whatever, however it's done. Not we're talking about refractions and horizons and the sun setting and all that stuff, because it's all possible on a flat Earth, and that's how it works, yeah? But if you can show a measurement, a scientific measurement of, you know, a 7 meter drop in 10 kilometers, shouldn't be that difficult. Any person in an aircraft should be able to do it. Any person with a drone should be able to do it. Anyone with a camera just changing positions. Lake Pontchartrain. If you want to say that those pylons are curving down, we'll just go 90 degrees, take a photograph of the side. Yeah, let's have a side-on view of that curvature. You should be able to see it. 10 miles across, 7 meters drop. Should be really easy to do. Should have been done before anyone started believing in a globe in the first place, right? Gia, I'm not sure how you say your name there. Gia Holopanian? Gia? People can't think about things these days. Everything has to be spoon-fed. Yeah. Everything needs to be explained specifically. Somehow it's difficult to somebody to question things. Yeah, nice point. I'm going to just... My glasses are not brilliant here. I've got the wrong kind of size, but that's okay. I'm getting by. It's interesting, though. I wonder if, the newer generation... Are they able to use a bit more discernment? I mean, because they've been given so much information, it's kind of overload, but then you have to start really picking apart what you're going to believe and what you're not going to believe. One thing I've seen is, for example, crime stories. On the work I do when I'm going looking for work online, there's a lot of people that want to do these crime stories on YouTube, and they need someone to write them based on true stories, or they want to make these YouTube videos. The thing is, what's happened now is all the big crimes have been covered. So there was a video the other day I saw that was just like someone got arrested for... It was a ridiculous thing. It was just like, it was just a really petty thing. Just a petty drunk. And they made a whole kind of like 20, 30-minute video out of this in the hopes that it would be recognized as a true crime video. But that's the thing. It's like, someone's spent a lot of time putting that together and just grabbing some footage and telling a story because they're trying to make money on YouTube. And it's just like, it's just useless information, really. It doesn't, but that's the thing. So, I think, people are going to kind of forced to use their discernment so they're not wasting too much time watching absolute nonsense on the internet. Of course, someone might think that what I'm doing or what we're all doing here is complete nonsense. But again, that's up to them. They can just pass it by if they want to. Yeah. So let's just scroll down a bit more. What's that? Click. I can't remember. I can't read what your thing is. But it's 300 mil. Even as a flat earther, I am always surprised how flat Earth is when I see far away from lightning bolts. Okay. How flat the Earth is when I see far away lightning bolts. Oh, I see what you mean. Yes. You're watching lightning way off in the distance, and of course it should be behind a curve, right? Yeah, it's incredible. Yeah. It's that's the thing with light, isn't it? It kind of, yeah. And there's a limit to how far we can see with light, but it obviously helps. Suddenly got this strobe light. Yeah. Auto hoax, the level of vacuum described for space, I don't believe exists anywhere, yet it would have to exist for the perpetual rotation of the Earth. If there was a vacuum that powerful, nothing would coalesce. Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? It's a contradiction, isn't it? I mean, they have to have it for their model. Or all that, that's what was it? Not Newton, Galileo was extrapolating, right? Okay, you got the marbles and the friction, and of course, if there's no friction, so what environment could have no friction? Oh, a vacuum. So I'll have to make the Earth a vacuum. But I think liquid. I can't remember if it's helium or hydrogen. I think it's liquid helium can, that offers little resistance, and in a way, however it works, that kind of makes sense to me. That you've got these noble gases that are rising up, and they eventually collect into layers of their own, and of course it gets cold up there, and why couldn't you have a liquid helium, whatever layer or dome or however it works? Who knows? But again, it's just one of those possibilities you can philosophize about. That would be akin to a vacuum. It would allow movement. So. again, movement of what? Yeah, but yeah, the vacuum just goes against all those laws of thermodynamics, doesn't it? Yeah. Jeff Gashead, Sea Lightning, that's our introduction. Yeah, okay. Auto Hoax, what makes you think it's powerful? Okay, I'm not sure what you're talking about there. Oh, Negator. What's that? Today on a Cloud Layer app, I was watching clouds 240 miles away. I make a game out of matching the clouds over the... Wow, okay. That's quite a distance. Mallard the duck. Sundogs are a fascinating... They are. Again, yeah, they're so... Yeah, like rainbows, yeah. And that's the thing. What's the sun doing? Is the sun some kind of? Is it a focal point of light? I mean, it does appear obviously to be. You take those things of Crow, for example. It does appear to be something solid-ish, whether it's a plasma or something. Who knows? And yeah, I know I've watched the sunspots myself, so you know, and I do. I wonder as well if those sunspots are stars or something or whatever that's just in between us and the sun. Are they necessarily on the sun? They could be. I don't know, but yeah, there seems to be something solid there. But then again, you know, there's a very easy way to make a sweet appear to be really there, and you try and grab it and you can't. So again, it could be just a reflection of something going on somewhere else. Who knows? Who knows? But it becomes very... yeah, of course, I think, you know, it goes back to that. That's the thing. People feel comfortable if they can say, rather than leaving it saying, I don't know. It's, well, at least I've got that answer from someone who has some kind of authority, yeah? Okay. And then there's another comment from Sea Lightning. It is hard to believe that lightning bolts can be seen so far away by your own eyes, yeah. Okay. Joy C, hello. Thanks for your tenacity in what you know. Only on FE that I know is our up and down. I look when I can't at the stability of the stability of the stars. It feels good. Yeah, okay. Thank you, JC. Yeah. It's kind of a good feeling. There is, yeah, I know what you mean. There's that familiarity, isn't there? It's kind of, there's some comfort in looking at the stars, I think. Yeah. Okay. Oh, I got down to the end of the chat there. Okay. All right, so Negator, pressure change at different level. So yeah, you're kind of arguing about pressure, and again, you're just kind of inferring that gravity Negator. Yeah, no one denies these things. You know, you've got to understand. You know, I had someone kind of fire this content at me the other, questioning me, thinking, "Oh, you're afraid of the penguins with guns at Antarctica? Is that why you're not going?" It's like, oh God. Oh dear. You know, once they've, and again, this happens with all these political debates as well. Once someone's latched onto an argument that they can kind of feel that they can attack you with, away they go, and it's just like, oh dear, they've just got no real concept of what has gone on in the thought process. Yeah. So it's really important, isn't it? Really important. You know, just yeah. So there we have the believers really causing the harm there, and that. You know, that can affect. I mean, that's what happens with all these cults, yeah. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah, I didn't open this up to any kind of audio calls, but it's good. If anyone's got anything else to add, I'm happy to say it there, but I've kind of said what I wanted to say, really. And I just, this is kind of part of what's going into a book that I'm writing. It's, yeah, a flat earth book per se, but I think really what's more important is using the flat earth journey, or the journey to realizing that it's not a globe, and that discernment as a catalyst. So I'm not really necessarily going to come up with all these scientific experiments and who said this and who said that, but it's more about let's look at what is said and what, you know, let's discern between belief, knowledge and belief, yeah? So thank you, Zoo Scott, appreciate that, yeah? So Fat plane, read prior comment. Okay, hang on, let me just go up. Oh, sorry. Okay, I've just come up to it now. Okay, what's that? Phuket Word, do you think humans in general would choose to believe a comfortable lie or accept a horrible truth? I know it's... I wonder, yeah, whether is it... Sure, I think, it's sad, isn't it? Because a lot of people do live a lie. And it's again, I think I was saying earlier on, it's just... it's so difficult to know whether they know that whether they're consciously doing it or unconsciously doing it. I mean, for example, I've got personal experience of my father getting told he has 6 months to live, and he believed it, and it was like, okay, he wasn't going to do anything about it. He wasn't going to change anything. He wasn't going to even try. He just kind of accepted his fate because it was, they didn't see any other options, and there was no way I could talk to him about some of the other kind of things that I've discovered about natural health and things like that. Wasn't interested, wasn't going to listen. So there's it's really sad that to see that happen. So yeah, but at the same time, there's another thing where there's that attachment to, obviously, if you're seeing a relative get sick and die, and there's that, you take it personally, and you kind of, are you just gonna pop off and kind of leave me alone, kind of thing. And so yeah, there's also that. There was also kind of dealing with that, coping with that. That that's my personal take on. I'm letting my how can I describe that? Do you see what I'm saying? It's like, someone's, a close relative or whatever is dying. You can sometimes feel you take it as like an affront against you, and this can happen even in a family situation, for example. And maybe you have a partner, and you just do something, you leave something. Maybe it's you leave something that's going to get washed up, but you don't do it at that time because of various reasons, and your partner might think that you're doing that deliberately to annoy them, to upset them, to antagonize them, and it's like, no, you can so easily have crossed wires in that respect, especially when intimacy and love is involved as well, because you've just got this distorted view of what the reasons for that other person doing something, yeah, and it's like, you've just got to. It's very, very difficult to just take a step away from that. So I like the question there. Where is it again? Do you think humans in general would choose to believe in a comfortable lie or accept? So I think in general they do, to be honest. Yeah, you have to really want to know the truth, and the thing again, whether it's conscious or subconscious, that your ego and part of you is going to have to die. Your old self is going to have to die. There is death involved in there. And the ego is always stepping in. It's the first thing that steps in. Whenever you want to just interject in an argument, or you want to, it's like, it's the ego. Yeah. So again, unless we're looking out for it, we're not aware of it, right? And again, this is what the whole kind of Buddhist thing is about. It's more about spotting these things and understanding that your mind and your ego is going to play all these tricks on you for comfort. Yeah. And again, I think, convenience is a killer in that way. We love convenience. And it's funny, we can look at things unfolding because of our convenience, and we know that it's not good for the future, right? Yeah, whether it's, you look at the way small towns have become deserted and they're ghost towns because people have gone for the convenience of either shopping online or going to the big stores and filling up with their petrol at the same time. They don't support the local businesses anymore, but at the same time they'll bemoan that those businesses don't exist. But there's that responsibility to support them. But okay, I'll just go down I'll just travel and I'll do all my shopping in one go. It's easier, it's more convenient. I don't have time. So that convenience is a killer. Yeah. In that respect, it cuts across all those things. So being comfortable is our downfall a lot of the time, because you've got to get uncomfortable. It's like anything, isn't it? You know, whether David Goggins is getting you to go into an ice bath, you know, you don't necessarily have to do that, but the point is, you know, what are you prepared to do to seek your own truth? How uncomfortable are you going to get? That's the point of doing ice baths and things like that. It's like, can you do it? Can you put yourself through discomfort in order to seek your truth? And a lot of the time we won't. Yeah, I admit I wouldn't want to get in an ice bath, you know. Even in this heat, you know, it would be a mental thing to do. But I know you'd come out of it feeling good. You'd feel like, okay, I achieved that. But that can be as much as just doing, you know, a few press-ups every day. It's like, okay, I'm just going to do it. I'm going to get on with it, even if I don't want to. Yeah, because you know it's going to be good for you, right? Yeah. What's that? Sorry, so I'm just going back up through these comments now that I missed. Sorry, Negator's saying suggesting space could suck out all our atmosphere off doesn't make sense when you can measure the PSI difference between sea level. Well, again, Negator, you're just kind of assuming that it can only end in infinite space, because there is this change in the density of air or whatever. But you know, again, we're not ever getting beyond that. You look at these rockets going up, and they obviously seem to hit something that acts more like a liquidy thing. Yeah, there's something else up there that is containing that pressure. It doesn't, you know. Again, it doesn't prove anything. It doesn't prove the shape of the Earth. Yes, if you assume it's a globe, then it's easy to do. It makes the mathematician's job easier, because you've got this uniform shape. If it was like a square, then, you know, nothing's uniform. It would be different strengths of gravity going here. And this is something that kind of this weird thing, because globers are stuck on this idea of the kind of Newtonian gravity concept. They assume that the further away you get across a flat Earth, it's going to feel more and more difficult to walk, which it's just such a weird thing. But it's because they're maintaining this idea of gravitational pull on a sphere Earth, and they're translating that from that globe Earth model into this flat Earth model. And yeah, that's not reality, is it? You know. Zeus got that baby goats will eat anything. Yeah, okay. And auto hoax space is like 10 million negative psi, if you can imagine a million psi. Yeah. Okay, sea lightning. One more thing about chemtrails. Stop chemtrails. When I see plane and bright chemtrails, I go on flight radar 24 and touch follow. Then with binoculars, I follow the contrails. 300 miles is attainable. 11 miles over the curve. Wow, amazing. Yeah. Okay. All right. Anyway, I was gonna wrap it up there. So is there anything else that's come in? Howard Walker says he agrees with auto hoax. Okay, auto hoax has come to the conclusion that I've come to the conclusion that the globe trolls either have an agenda or they enjoy ridicule and trolling more than an honest perusal to even understand an alternative. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they're all defense. You go on the attack as a form of defense. Yes, it's just, again, it still mystifies me whether they know it themselves. Again, you know, if someone's an ardent believer of something, you don't need to pay them. That's the thing, isn't it? Or you need to, you know, again, a lot of these guys, some of these guys are, you know, they were looking for ways to make a living on YouTube, make money from YouTube, and they realized they were safe with the whole globe thing. And yeah, you know, with the attacking the underdogs, as it were. Yeah, especially when the algorithms turned around in around 20, whenever it was, 20, I can't remember, but 2015 was going well. Yeah. So, yeah. Ricardo de la Cala, auto hoax. As a globe troll, I can say you have come to the wrong conclusion. You're a globe troll, are you? All right. Well, where's your measurement of curvature, Ricardo? Do you have one? Yeah? Go ahead. Let's just keep this going a little bit longer. Ricardo has obviously got something he wants to say. Have you got a measurement of curvature, Ricardo? Ricardo. Harmon Walker's given him an answer there. You weren't in the original groups of 2015 and 16. Trust me, those guys are paid, and they scrape the bottom of the barrel. Recliner. They don't seem malicious. All right, man. Yeah. Okay, Zeus Scott, you're off now. Okay. So yeah, appreciate that. Good for you to pop in. So yeah, I will wrap it up unless Ricardo has got a globe Earth proof with a measurement of curvature. If you haven't, then I'll end it there. We'll give you 1 minute to come up with a tangible measurement of curvature, Ricardo. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah. All right. Put it in the comments because I'm going to wrap this up now. It's been a while, so I really appreciate you coming in. Thank you very much, everyone. Yeah, it's been fun. Appreciate it. Hope you all have a good weekend. Yeah. And just carry on discerning between knowledge and belief, and you'll live a very happy, free life. Yeah? All right. Take care. Speak soon. Thanks. Okay, Ricardo, you're just here to listen. All right. See ya.